Conservative media done right. You're listening to the SHR Media Network.
Hey, it's Sean from the Edge of Liberty. Join me right here on the SHR Media Network every Monday and Friday, 12 on the Pacific, 3 on the East Coast. On this show, we'll discuss news, politics, the government, how cranky we are about the government, and more. If you want to hear hard talk, good interviews, sarcasm, bad jokes, and, oh, God, that really is me in a nutshell. Either way, check me out right here on the Edge of Liberty every Monday and Friday, 12 Pacific, 3 on the East, on the SHR Media Network. Hey, ladies and gentlemen, welcome to the Edge of Liberty right here on the SHR Media Network. Thank you so much for joining us on the Big Friday show. Make an adjustment. There we go. There we go. It's a little bit better. Hopefully your week's going well. I know it's, well, it's been a rough week in this country. I have absolutely zero doubt about that. If you're still recovering from the path of fleeing, and we're going to get into all of that and just what an atrocity it's become here very shortly. But if you're in the zone and you're still trying to get help, which apparently FEMA is not very good at right now, we have you in our thoughts, and we hope all these nonprofits and all these private citizens and all these people who are really stepping up do a good job and keep doing what they're doing, I guess is a better way to put it. That would be amazing. We will get to that shortly. But first I want to start off nice and easy. I want to talk about internet trolls and how lovely internet trolls are. So one of the joys, I guess, to put it bluntly, one of the joys. Okay, no, I didn't change that. One of the joys of being on X of the trolls, and it's election season. And one of the things that you really have to pay attention to is 90% of these trolls that are on here are not from this country. They're not. They're talking about American elections like they're here. And then when you call them out on it, they go through the whole, well, I'm still here and I can still have the conversation and you're a coward because you won't engage me bullshit. Bullcrap, sorry. Daytime show, Sean. Daytime show. And it just blows my mind repeatedly that they all have the same MO. You can tell the ones that are working in these bot farms, they have this, their script copy and pasted, and I'm sure they have all their little subjects lined up and they can pick and choose, and it auto translates into English, yada, yada, yada. It's amazing to me how many of them there are, and they all the same way. Look, as soon as you see like not a face, it's usually not a face, or if it is a face, it's like a real generic picture, and you can tell who they are. Go in and look at their profile. They'll have an account made in like 2013 and have 96 followers, 150 followers. I'll tell you right now, with my little Twitter following on this new account, I still probably have 200 followers that I know are absolutely the adult website bots that are just out there following anyone, and they'll comment on one thing and then they'll follow you. Hopefully you'll engage to try to get money out of you. Different type of bot. But if you're on and you're engaging enough, those bots will follow you, and you probably get like 200 of them in your followers. So they don't even have that because they fire up these accounts every 2 years in our election cycle. And it blows my mind how many of them love to have a comment on our election cycle. Yeah, and I'm not just saying like, oh, I don't think that's a good idea or blah, blah, blah. It's never engaging. You know, when I try to engage people from other countries, and I try to do it a little bit humble, like, I know it's not my country, but yada, yada, yada. And they don't do that. They talk to you like first they're here voting, and then when you kind of call them out on it, they're like, "Ah, crap! All right, he's got me. So now I'm just going to admit it and say it doesn't matter." Blah 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 blah. They'll as soon as you call them out, all they do is just start belittling you and telling you why you're wrong. It went from whatever subject they were commenting on. The one this morning was this little weasel. I commented on Robert Reich and his ridiculous comments. And this guy like laid into me, and then when we drew it out, and I love if I have the time, and I was watching the press briefing. I'm just jacking around, and I'll engage some of these bots just because it makes me giggle. I'm a jerk like that. But then all they do is just start like trying to get you more and more, and I just throw it back at them. So if you get those engagements, that's the easiest way. Go into their account, look at how many followers they have, and when the account was made, because most of them are a bot farm. Iran, China, Russia, I'm sure other countries as well. And all they love to do is just sit there and throw a shade at you. You hate me because you hate me type thing, which is my favorite. So we just had the White House press briefing. It's amazing how they cover the jobs report. So I'll get that into a minute. But as we're rebranding here at SHR Media and updating and just trying to figure out what's will work now compared to before and what won't work, etc., I will start hosting White House press briefings, Pentagon press briefings, stuff like that, because behind the scene, I want to make sure certain things are working, certain things are triggering, whatever. So today I carried the White House press briefing from the White House website, just because I just wanted to put something on before my show so I could check a few things. What are the odds that Joe Biden would walk in? First time he's ever found the press briefing room. Now, I will absolutely entertain the fact that it might have been accidental, and I am starting chat. So if you're listening on Rumble, whatnot, YouTube, I'm starting the chat right now. I apologize. Facebook. All right, chat's running. What are the odds of Joe Biden? And look, I have a couple clips I want to try to get back to here somewhere, where Joe Biden was a couple of interviews and questions recently on off the cuff, where he was going to or coming from the White House. It's not good. It's not good. I don't know how they. I don't know. I mean, I know why they hid it for so long, but I don't understand how people, even on the left, were okay with this for as long as it was. I mean, it was everywhere. I mean, it was obvious why they hit him in the basement, yada, yada, yada. And then you start talking to him, or you start getting him to talk. And I want to play this briefing. Jerry Callahan posted this on his X. And I want you to like just got back from North Carolina. Just got back from North Carolina. North Carolina and Tennessee are in the midst of trying to recover from an absolutely hellacious and horrific flood situation from the Hurricane Helene. There's still hundreds missing. There's over 200 dead. The FEMA response has been under question from day one, and rightfully so, as we will get into in the show. And Joe's walking back into the White House, I believe. And this question's asked. I want you to listen to this. It's mind-boggling.
What do the states of the storm zone need, Mr. President?
Okay.
What do the states of the storm zone, what do they need after what you saw today?
Oh, in the storm zone.
Yes, sir.
I'm wondering what storm they're talking about. They're getting everything they need. And they're very happy across the board.
What do the states of the
What? The storm zone? What storm zone? I didn't know which one you were talking about. Oh. You just spent all day there. It's been nonstop because you even did like the whole press briefing with the North Carolina governor of getting mad and yelling about how Trump was wrong. And why is everybody so upset? There's a million different reasons, but I'm going to talk on a government level. Why everyone's mad at FEMA, why everyone's mad at the federal government? Because there was no response. The emergency declaration, I think, was just signed 48 hours ago or less from the feds. It's a nightmare. People are not getting what they need. And a day after or 2 days after we just sent billions overseas to Ukraine, people are told they're getting $750 from the federal government. The people who are in this zone, who lost everything. And BZ played a clip in his show last night. I won't play that one again. It was great. It was a guy saying, hey, I have insurance, but, and he's 100% right. Just because you have insurance doesn't mean the first couple of weeks you're not going to be in more trouble. And these people are getting $750 a day. $750 a day. It's so maddening. And this is, I'm legitimately like shuddering because I'm angry about this. Maui, they got 700 a day. And I'm pretty sure we were sending money overseas too. When does it end? That's my question. How much money has been directed away from FEMA from disaster response to illegal immigrants? How many? How much? Give me a number, because whatever it is, it's too much. Once American citizens are not the priority, it is too goddamn much. And I don't care. I don't care about their status or whatever. Law enforcement, there's variations of the same, but it's, you can't help anyone if you can't help yourself. In other words, you have to keep yourself up, moving, mobile, and able during a conflict, during a fight, during a whatever. Because if you go down, you can't help anybody else. You have to be able to keep yourself in the fight. America is not doing that for its own people. It's not keeping us in the fight. And look, I said this Monday when I did the Helene show, and I'll say it again. I am fortunate to be sitting here in a warm, comfortable chair. I had food this morning. I know where I slept last night. I know where I'm going to sleep tonight. I'm okay. I'm fortunate. But there are people who are trying to recover from this, who are not fortunate. The ones who, and I mean, it's been a week. The storm hit a week ago. And there are people still trying to figure out how to get food and water. And I know I got into this argument a couple different places. I understand the infrastructure for the roads and everything were really bad. And I understand the damage was tremendous. But you had, and still have, a ton of private citizens with helicopters who are bringing stuff in their own helicopters with their own gas, or businesses, nonprofits with their own fuel, with their own equipment, bringing in food and water and resources that they brought themselves. And I'm going to show you the evidence of people, some of the lengths people are going to just to bring the slightest bit of care to people in need. And watch this. If I don't screw it up again. There it is. There's no sound, and I apologize. There are people on horseback. People on horseback there are people on horseback, their own horses, bringing in what's desperately needed to people who are suffering, and they are suffering. And the federal government is not doing anything. You had Mayorkas come out and say, hey, just so you know, we're about to run out of money for FEMA. FEMA's just about to run out of money. How? And I get it. The other thing people don't realize too, This argument is, well, we didn't shut down the government. No, emergency sources and services and FEMA and things like that, public safety, military, they still continue. They absolutely still continue. It's everything else that shuts down. So don't let them fool you with that. I love how people throw that out there when they talk about the shutdown. But you have people, and if you just go through social media, this was shared by Katie Palvich today, and this is a good one too, of just people doing their own thing, trying to help. Because if you listen to the people in the zone, the federal government is not doing a damn thing. In Black Mountain today, rescuing horses, didn't see many government personnel other than some cops, just normal people helping other people. And this was sent to her by a friend, right? And they have their own horse trailer. They're just out there trying to rescue horses. There was a horse rescued from floodwaters from a rooftop that's been up there apparently for the week. I'm not 100% sure. But you have people all over the place who are showing up and doing it. And the worst part is the federal government's telling them to stop. They're telling them to stop. They put up flight restrictions for 4 hours yesterday. You have people with their own helicopters, their own money, their own fuel, who are loading up their own choppers and other off-road vehicles, etc., to get around the roads. You have Elon Musk, who has been shipping Starlinks in there left and right. Remember when the government tried to hammer him for Starlink, but that's neither here nor there right now. Who's turned it on for at least 30 days. And I know if it's needed more, I'm sure Elon will turn it on more. Right? You have all these other non-government entities who are actually doing something, and the federal government is telling them to stop. They're threatening pilots who, if you don't listen to what they say, they're going to arrest them. They're threatening drone, and here's the story right here from the New York Post. It's a perfect example. They're threatening drone operators. And if you haven't seen these giant oversized drones that people have, it's amazing. And what they've been doing is groups of them have been attaching however much they can carry in food, water, and resources, and using these giant oversized drones to go into stricken areas. Most of the drones stay under 400 feet because that's the drone requirement. But then you see this, and you want to talk about trying to upset or discourage people from trying to help other Americans in need. Here you go. This is from the New York Post. Helicopter pilot threatened with arrest after flying rescue missions in flood-ravaged North Carolina. A South Carolina pilot who flew stranded Hurricane Helene victims in flood-ravaged North Carolina to safety, claims he was told he'd be arrested if he continued his mission. Jordan Seedhorn, who was flying victims out of devastation over the weekend, when local leaders told him there were flight restrictions in the area and they would arrest him if he continued making flights. Yep. Go ahead. Keep saving people and we're going to throw your ass in jail. That's exactly what they said. Why? I get there needs to be coordination. Okay, check in. Look, get Air Force combat controllers on the ground, right? You can manage this. You can have volunteers and manage this. It's not hard in the grand scheme of things, especially when people need help. Arrest. Start threatening people with arrest. Go ahead. Watch how that works out in the future. I take a break. We'll be back in 2 minutes. I'm going to keep going with this because there's so much more to talk about. It's absolutely ridiculous. Be right back here on the Edge of Liberty on the SHR.
Conservative media done right. You're listening to the SHR Media Network.
Welcome to River of Common Sense, where we cut through the noise of news and politics with a sharp wit and clear discussion. Tune in every Monday and Friday at 9 p.m. Eastern Standard Time for a refreshing dose of reality as we fearlessly tackle the tough topics with no nonsense, just pure common sense. Visit shrmedia.com to discover where you can catch River of Common Sense in action. He's here to amplify your inner logic. He may not always be polite, he may not always be refined, but one thing's for sure, he always tells it like it is.
Conservative media done right. You're listening to the SHR Media Network.
Welcome back, ladies and gentlemen, to the Edge of Liberty right here on the SHR Media Network. Happy Friday. Hey, I will be throwing out my drink of the week, Friday drink of the weekend, whatever you want to call it. If you're in the chat room over on YouTube, Rumble, and Facebook, go ahead and throw something in the chat. I can respond to you. I will respond to you, unless you're, somebody I know and I'm just trying to prove a point. So we're going to go back. So with all of this outrage that has just been rightfully thrown at FEMA and the feds, you would think that they would respond with something, I don't know what the word is. Essentially ownership, right? You'd think they could very easily come out and say, you know what? Yeah, we didn't start this off well. I know you guys have seen all the social media of people needing help that aren't getting it. I know there are people in pararescue groups, active pararescue groups that have group chats going who are saying, hey, we're on the ground really close. We have all these resources and we're not doing anything other than escorting VIPs around. That's true. Pararescue jumpers are the Air Force Special Forces. They go in and get down pilots, but they also do a lot of rescue and recovery during times like this. They're amazing, as are all of our military members. The 82nd Airborne, apparently, who there was a bunch of people from that group chat complaining that they weren't able to respond or they weren't being allowed to respond. It's just, there's so much bad press, rightfully so, coming out of this at FEMA. And I didn't expect to do 30 minutes on this, but it's just so insane that you can't ignore it. You cannot ignore this. But yet the federal government, man, they love to get the match when the gas comes out to light you up. Look at this. Rumor control. This is put up by FEMA. There's been a lot of rumors spreading about the Helene response. Rumors can create confusion and prevent people from getting assistance they need. Help us share accurate information. And then there's a link. Don't trust your lying eyes, folks. That's what they're saying right there. Don't trust your lying eyes. Do not. Whatever you do, don't trust what you're seeing on social media. Don't trust videos of people saying, hey, we need help. Hey, we're not getting the help we need. And then the nonprofits are starting to jump in, which these national nonprofits who've been around for a long time, and this one particular, it's from the American Red Cross. And I here, misinformation is hurting Hurricane Helene relief efforts. Their little quote at the top says, Misinformation can spread quickly after a disaster, causing confusion and distrust within communities struggling to recover. Unfortunately, we're seeing this during our response to Hurricane Helene. Oh, and Twitter did not, or X did not want to play nice with me. But that's another big one, right? That's the American Red Cross. Now, look, the American Red Cross does do some great things, right? But you don't need. They don't need to be doing this. They just need to do the American Red Cross thing. And I'll tell you, I've heard some horror stories in the past about the Red Cross that I don't want to share right now because it's not the time. But the simple fact of the matter is this information needs to get out there. People need to hear this. Why? Because at the end of the day, when all of this is said and done, there needs to be a review on this response. There has to be. There's no way there can't be a review on this response. It was terrible. So residents are posting their experience through all of this all over social media, and it's amazing. And you go from the people who need help that are posting what they're not getting. And I have a bunch of those too. Like I said, I wasn't expecting to do the whole show. I have like 15 other things I want to talk about, but it's just making me so angry. And then you have this post here, and I'm going to let this play out. But this is a Tennessee resident who says that FEMA in Tennessee has sent out text messages telling everyone, do not help your neighbors. And you just watch this and tell me what you think.
Well, you're going to have to just excuse my appearance because we have no power. We have no running water, but I'm just so pissed off that I've got to make this clear. We got a notification from FEMA. I'm guessing that's FEMA for Tennessee. I'm not exactly sure. I think it's supposed to be the disaster relief people, but they were like, do not donate your time. We don't want you to donate time unless we ask for you. And we don't want you to donate stuff to other people. You need to just donate money and stuff to us and get your instructions from us and listen to us. What? And then they said yesterday, we don't go into areas that the roads are not easily accessible. What? You are the disaster relief people. Like, that is your job, to go into the areas that are hit by disaster and provide relief, not to just go to the easy area and sit and wait for the people that are in the disaster area to be able to come to you. The roads that we do have were cleared by the locals, and you have to have trucks and stuff to be able to get through there. Like, it's just beyond me. So, and you have us all messed up. If you think you're going to come here and bark orders at us and then expect the people just to give you the money and us trust that you're going to try to take care of us when you don't go into areas that are not easily accessible. What? Like, this is Cott County, girl. So donate to our local churches, because they will make sure that the people that are need it will get it. And you need to just, while we appreciate what help you're trying to provide, I don't think you understood the assignment, because it's not to just go to one location in hopes that the people in the disaster area can make it to you. So just sit back and watch, and we'll show you how it's done, but we're not going to stop. So please and thank you.
Imagine being in one of these zones where everything you've lost, or everything you've had, is lost. Your whole life is lost and turned upside down and inside out. And the people you're expecting, who you pay taxes, damn good tax money to, who are supposed to be there, are not. But you watch billions go overseas. You watch billions go to the illegals who are coming over the border. so they can live in hotels in New York City and not pay rent for 6 months at a time, so they can get food cards and get cash. They get debit cards with cash, like $2,000 a month in some places. Never mind all the other services that they are, in fact, getting. And you are being told not to help your neighbor. Mind your own damn business. That's what they're being told. Mind your own damn business. There's another... I know. I said I was going to move on. I just can't. It's making me so freaking angry. Here's another one from Sean Davis. Information learned from the Federalist. Despite Biden promising that days ago 1,000 active duty troops would be on the ground in North Carolina, only 375 have been tasked with a specific assignment, the Federalist has learned. And of those 375, none of those tasks were search and rescue efforts. Now, I know there were some search and rescue efforts being made. I do, because I've seen the video, and I'm not saying that the government is doing an excellent job. He's talking about that specific 1,000 troops. 375 have been given tasks, but that leaves the remainder, 625, not given tasks. And again, I know it's hard to get around. I know it's hard to get around. I've watched the carnage for how hard it is to get around. And I wish for the life of me that somebody, I think for this, we should listen to somebody whose voice is very important in this sort of situation. It's Nancy Pelosi.
But I will say this, that any objective observation of what has happened in the first 4 or 5 days in the Gulf state would say that this is not a success, that we can do better as a country. And again, we have to evaluate the actions that were taken, the judgments that were made, because we still have people on roofs of buildings. We still have people who are sick, who are not receiving oxygen. We have children who are not in school. The list goes on and on and on. There is, whatever the judgment is about the leadership that has happened right now, if we think that this was a good example of leadership, we have indeed lowered our standards as a nation. And again, to this gentleman, but I will.
Nancy Pelosi, 100% right. That was for Katrina, when a Republican who wasn't a conservative, but he was a Republican, was in office. And then she was mad. And it was okay to question the government response then, and that's what they did. Right? Politics all the time. Was the Katrina response messy? Absolutely. Is there a lot of things that went into that is different with this? Yeah. People were told to evacuate and they didn't. And I don't want that to be confused with they deserve what they got, because it's not. But the simple fact of the matter is they were told to get out and they chose to stay in their homes, and it made it very, very difficult. These people were not told to get out. Nobody predicted it was going to hit the Asheville, North Carolina area like it did. Nobody. You may have had like one or two voices. There's a lot of independent meteorologists who are on social media, and I'm sure you can dig up a couple who probably said, hey, this is going to be bad, and we should probably did. And it got worse. And this is my last video I want to play on this topic, and then I'm going to move on, because I got 5 minutes to my next break, and then 20 minutes to the end of the show after that. So I do have a couple of things I want to cover, but this is from Representative Anna Paulina Luna about the money that went to illegals.
North Carolina is underwater, 1,000 people missing. While Pinellas County, we had 11 deaths, and we have a majority of our residents that aren't going to be able to come back to their homes because they're completely destroyed. You have Mayorkas, the Biden-Harris administration, and radical leftists in Washington, mostly in the Democrat Party, gave illegals $1.1 billion in housing assistance. People that never paid into the system. Mind you, they wouldn't have been here in the first place if they weren't campaigning on open borders, but that's a separate video. You should be pissed. And if you think as a legislator, I'm not pissed and I don't see the games that happen in Washington, hoping that you're not paying attention, because that's how it goes up there, is they hope the American people are too busy working to pay attention to the crap that they're doing. I'm telling you, you need to get out and vote, because this is not going to stop. It's just going to continue with the inflation, with the border security issues. And now we have Americans that are literally dying, not being able to get assistance. And the administration says, it's okay, we'll give you $750. Meanwhile, they said our tax dollars overseas to fund countries that don't need it, and they give it to illegal immigrants.
Yeah. I mean, I know we're all saying the same thing over and over again, but it needs to be said. This needs to be said repeatedly, because there is absolutely no reason. Look, we knew Katrina was going to be bad. The amount of resources that were swarmed into the area when it was worse than we were expecting, and it was. Remember, they said Katrina was going to be horrible, and it ended up being 50 times worse, right? Same thing. But we also have the world's greatest military, hands down. We have a decent infrastructure by and large. FEMA keeps thousands of contracts with logistic and trucking companies, so they're ready to go in times like this. There's water storage, there's food banks. They have all this stuff. And it was slow rolled. You can't, there's no way it wasn't slow rolled. There's no other way around it at this point. You can't tell me this is the best we have to offer these victims. And if it is, then yeah, FEMA needs to be gutted totally. If this is the best we can offer our Americans in need, FEMA needs to be gutted. Look, I've said before, I've said it on social media, I've actually worked in a FEMA disaster area. I've seen how they operate firsthand. It was in northern Massachusetts, the Haverhill area, when they had a massive flooding. It used to be really well coordinated. Resources were there, everything from search and rescue to food, shelters, hospitals, and then even recovery stuff was already there. You had insurance representatives there in 24 hours, 48 hours. You had small business there. You had all of these resources that were just showed up and blasted out. And this was post 9/11, I think post Katrina as well, obviously. And you're not seeing that here. You're seeing more videos. And I know like people take their own videos to show on social media, but you're seeing more help coming from everyday average people in these small groups. And sometimes they're not even groups. They're not even nonprofits. They're just people. I've seen videos of people just gathering, buying water from New York, state of New York, renting U-Hauls and driving it down and meeting up with Mercury One and all of these other groups who are doing these wonderful things and just saying, hey, this is all the food and water we could find. I hope you can get this to people in need. It's all over social media. The one thing, thank goodness for Elon Musk, because how much of this would have been throttled and you would not have seen it. By the way, Elon, who said, or Starlink said earlier today, they're sending even more Starlinks down there. So at least people and public safety and everybody else can communicate. Hotels, from what I'm seeing, and I haven't confirmed this independently, but it wouldn't shock me because the FEMA people need to live somewhere. FEMA's renting out all these hotels for their people, and it's close to where the disasters are, and regular people are either priced out because $750 or there's no vacancy. There were literally people hiking out of the disaster area yesterday. I saw that on social media as well. Hiking out on foot with kids, animals, whatever, going around giant road collapses. It's insane to me. I'm up against a break. We come back, we talk about the election. There's so much news just to talk about there. Be right back right here on the Edge of Liberty on the SHR.
Conservative media done right. You're listening to the SHR Media Network.
Welcome to River of Common Sense, where we cut through the noise of news and politics with a sharp wit and clear discussion. Tune in every Monday and Friday at 9 p.m. Eastern Standard Time for a refreshing dose of reality as we fearlessly tackle the tough topics with no nonsense, just pure common sense. Visit shrmedia.com to discover where you can catch River of Common Sense in action. He's here to amplify your inner logic. He may not always be polite, he may not always be refined, but one thing's for sure, he always tells it like it is.
Conservative media done right. You're listening to the SHR Media Network.
And welcome back, ladies and gentlemen, to the Edge of Liberty. My name is Sean. I am your host right here on the SHR Media Network. Hey, if you are so inclined, check us out, shrmedia.com. Not going to lie, absolutely love my new music. If you don't know who I am, I was the host of Sackheads Radio, one of the hosts of Sackheads Radio for years here on SHR Media Network. I hosted the show originally on a station out of Philadelphia. I write on SHR Media and all that jazz. So follow us Facebook, on Twitter if you're following and you have an X, not Twitter. I know I dead named it. Damn it. They're all going to come after me. Please follow me on X, the number 2 Against Tyranny on X, the number 2 Against Tyranny. Facebook, SHR Media Group. YouTube, SHR Media. You'll see the logo like that guy. Also on Rumble, Twitch, pretty much anywhere. So I want to get into the election. I know we only have 17 minutes left to go. You know you're suffering when first of all, they've changed how they're attacking Trump. I don't know if you've realized that. They've even with the Jack Smith thing that came down yesterday, it was a bunch of BS. It's not saying anything that they haven't alleged before, and the case isn't going to go anywhere, and we all know that. So they released all that, blah, 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 blah. The media tried to run with it for about 12 hours, and it just didn't happen. It is so not talked about right now all over the place. Yeah, some places are commenting on it, but it's not like what I was expecting to be with these massive headlines with it just repeating. But James Carville, who has been a critic, he would sell his soul for Harris to get in the office, don't get me wrong. But he's been vocal about how the campaign has been run and is being run. And this little clip right here, it's about 43 seconds. It's an audio clip only. You'll see a picture of James, but he's not talking. It didn't freeze. And I want you to listen to what he says. This is not good.
What the fuck are you people doing? Get off your ass. Move, move, move. Why isn't Harris herself out today talking about that? This is not an issue that people don't care about. It's not a nitpicking thing. And I got to tell you, the White House response, and I think by and large, to a large extent, the press response is not at all measured to the gravity of this lie, of the importance of this, of you're lying about people's goddamn lives, all right? What the fuck are y'all doing in the Harris campaign? Get her out there now, now.
Woo! The Raging Cajun's pissed. And like I said, he's criticizing because he's furious. He's absolutely furious because he doesn't think that their response to this, to pushing back on the hurricane was good. But just the fact that he's saying that publicly now, and I know he's never been one to be shy, but the fact that he's belching that out so loudly and unabashed and just it's you never saw this before. Even with him, you'd see some criticism, but he'd be relatively. Democrats are scrambling. There's a lot of negative things coming out from inside the Harris Walz campaign. Look, we all saw. I'm not going to go too far into it. The VP debate with Vance and Walz, and as soon as Van Jones and the other ones came out and started calling him slick, and Van Jones said, "Oh, that's what they taught us at Yale," which was funny to me because I'm like, "Oh, so that means everything you say is a lie because you're saying everything J.D. Vance said was a lie, essentially." And the whole point is to be slick and then lie while you're being slick. Okay, thanks, Van Jones. We always knew you were a liar, but you just confirmed that if what you're saying is true, or you had nothing else to go after Vance about, and Walz was a disaster. I mean, he was. If you go back, it didn't seem as bad that night. He did better, I think, than most people expected him to, because he didn't just fall apart. Like I think a lot of people were expecting him just to be so flustered. I think most people knew going in that Vance was going to kind of have the edge. He didn't do that, but he wanted to. You could tell by all of his faces, and the memes are out there. They're absolutely amazing. Where he called himself a knucklehead and he gets caught up in the rhetoric and he just says stuff sometimes. He said that, he made friends with school shooters, which we all knew wasn't what he meant, but he said it, right? It's amazing. And they glossed over it. The whole left news media glossed over it like it wasn't a big deal. But it's simple fact is he got called out for his abortion bill that did originally, and everybody posted the original law, allow abortion up to birth. Now, whether you agree or disagree with abortion, the point is he outright lied about it. Outright lied. It was bold-faced like you wouldn't believe. Bold-faced. Everyone says it differently. I've seen bald-faced. I've seen bold-faced. How do you say it? I don't know. I've always said bold-faced lie because you're lying with a bold face. You're not even showing how much of a lie it is. And then, your campaign is in trouble when you have this person that you're campaigning with.
Donald Trump was willing to sacrifice our capital to allow law enforcement officers to be beaten and brutalized in his name, and to violate the law and the Constitution in order to seize power for himself. I don't care if you are a Democrat or a Republican or an independent. That is depravity, and we must never become numb to it. Any person who would do these things can never be trusted with power again. We must defeat Donald Trump on November 5th.
First of all, she's the definition of a megalomaniac. Anything to hold power, right? She lost her position like Kinzinger. She proved that she was not a conservative. She proved that she was a rhino. The January 6th committee, the amount of lies that committee was allowed to throw out, and everybody on the left was just barking seals, clapping along. Oh, this is great. They're so good. Right? The January 6th, if you ever read the report, it's a shit show. It's daytime. It's a mess. When she got bounced out of her seat, all of a sudden, and she was anti-Trump before. And why? I'll tell you exactly why. Same reason why Daddy was how he was. Dick Cheney. Warhawks. What did Trump do? He didn't start any new wars, and he was trying to end a war. He was limiting our military involvement in conflicts around the world. He brought peace to the Middle East with the Abraham Accords. It was the only time, as J.D. Vance said, in the last, 30 years that we weren't in conflict, or we were trying to end wars and not starting new ones. She hated that. Why? Because her and her friends make millions off a war. So when she was bounced out because the liberals have become the war hawks, when she was bounced out, she was already anti-Trump. She got even more anti-Trump. And now she's going to go ahead and campaign for Harris. She's a slug at best. She's a slug. Anything to maintain relevancy and potentially power. You think she's doing this because she likes Kamala Harris? Look, most people, and this is not a secret in Washington, D.C., do not like Kamala Harris as a person. Behind closed doors, she was like this in California. Like I said, I know people that worked with the AG's office. In her office in Washington as a senator and as the vice president, look at the amount of turnover rate that she had in her office because of how contentious she was to work with. Kamala Harris is not this sweet person that everybody wants to make her out to be. The giggles are not real. They're uncomfortable giggles, but it's not because she's this happy-go-lucky. Joy is the absolute funniest campaign slogan they could have, given that she has shown her true self over and over again. She went out and called Biden a racist when she was running, when she got less than 1% and had to dump her campaign. And then this time around, what did she do? She pulled a coup on him. She pulled a coup on the Democratic Party, too, because they weren't allowed to have a primary. I know they're all revisionist history people and going to say, oh, we were never going to have an open vote for who was going to replace Biden. It was always going to be Kamala. No. They were throwing names around left and right. Remember, up until the coup happened, up until we all saw how bad Biden was, they were talking about getting rid of Kamala Harris as vice president because she polled so poorly. And then the coup happens, and now she's the greatest thing since sliced bread. The greatest thing. Proof, by the way, that the Democrats will just follow any line of BS they're told to. Because I'll tell you right now, and I've seen this a few times on social media, there's been a few honest people who said, I don't care if she, essentially, I'm paraphrasing, I don't care if she barbecues a kitten in front of a schoolroom of children, I'm voting for her anywhere because Orange Man bad. That's it. Now, I also see plenty of people say, I don't like Donald Trump, but my life was better under him, and that's why I'm going to vote for him. There's a very big difference. Voting for someone because you hate the other person, or voting for someone that, despite their personality, you saw in their job that they did previously, that they did it well, and you would like that again. It blows my mind that people will vote for her after she was polling at 32% as vice president? 32%. Herpes was polling higher than Kamala Harris was. I probably just got demonetized somewhere, but it's true. The only thing Kamala Harris polled better was Congress, and they were like 18%. But then now all of a sudden she's the sweetheart, right? And this tells you, I'm going to pull up a Morning Joe clip from today. This tells you, listen to Joe, which Joe Scarborough is, he's a megalomaniac, just like that slug Cheney is. And that's all I call her, is the slug. But listen to Joe.
The question is, though, for them, do you want votes to be counted 4 or 5 days after the election, or do you want to win on election night?
Unfortunately, in Pennsylvania, they're going to be counted a couple days after election, no matter what.
Or at Arizona and Nevada. But if they want this thing over on election night, they are going to have to do better with older white men and with Hispanics. Well, those are the two.
I don't know if you saw the runner at the bottom where it said firefighter union declines to endorse Harris or Trump. They have endorsed Democrats for the longest period of time. They're yet another union that did not endorse Kamala Harris. Why? Because the vast majority of their union are Trump supporters. But the union bosses who get millions, like the longshoreman jerk, who makes $900,000 a year, who is going to hold the country hostage until, I'm sure, a wink and a nudge was given of, hey, if Kamala gets in, we'll take care of you on the other side. Just don't do this to us right now, because if you do this, you'll grind the country to a halt. Prices will go through a roof. There will be major shortages in supermarkets and stores. The people will get pissed. Gas prices will go up, and you will be doing more damage to Kamala. Please, please, please don't keep striking. And of course, the strike was ended, which I saw was coming. And I said in my article on shrmedia.com about it, the longshoremen were smart about this. They suspended the strike till January something, after the election, after the confirmation or inauguration, pardon me. They were smart. It's almost like the Democrats do with the budget. They wait to just before an election so they can hang this albatross around people's necks to get leverage, to get what they want. And the Longshoremen Union did the same thing. They held everybody hostage to get what they want, or threatened to hold them hostage. And then, like I said, the wink and the nudge came. I see now reports that Waltz is canceled. I haven't seen this myself, but I've seen reports that Waltz has canceled a couple things. Look, you have some left leaning media outlets who are now kind of just starting to throw some shade at Waltz. Like, well, if they don't win, it's because Waltz said this or that. And I'll tell you what they're doing. They're setting him up to be a patsy, because if they don't win in November, they're going to blame Waltz. Why? That way Harris can run again. She's not letting go. Even if she loses this time, I'll tell you right now, she's going to start campaigning for 2028. I mark my words. They can't get rid of her, as awful as she is, because they made her who she was. They made her who she was from the time she was the DA of San Francisco. They made her who she was. They kept pushing her and pushing her and pushing her up the ladder all the way through senator. She was a horrible AG. She was the most liberal senator ever. She was left of Bernie and AOC and all the other ones. Then they would not vote for her in the primary. Joe picked her because he needed a female and a person of color to help him with females and people of color in this country for votes. They created this monster. She's not going away. So if they lose, you're going to see, my guess would be, it's going to be Vance and Kamala in 2028. Just throwing it out there. Look, I got a minute left. My drink of the week. This is the one I really want you to give it a shot, actually. Give this a good one a shot. And this is good because it's going to teach you how to make cinnamon syrup, which it's good to just have in the fridge for other cocktails. This comes from JosephAMagnus.com's website. 1.5 ounces. Oh, let me make that a little bit bigger for you. It's for the cinnamon bourbon fizz. 1.5 ounces of bourbon, an ounce of Aperol. If you don't have Aperol around, you really need to. A little bit of lemon juice. Half an ounce. 1 to 2 dashes of orange or rosemary bitters. I actually would do the rosemary if you get your hands on it. Bitters. Look, folks, if you use bitters, I know everyone knows Angostura, chocolate and orange are becoming more popular. Every time you see a new types of bitters, grab it. If you like making cocktails, man, you can do some wonderful things with it. 1 to 2 ounces of cinnamon syrup. I'd stay 1. You know, cinnamon syrup will add a good bite, but it's not going to be like Fireball. It's going to be a natural cinnamon flavor, a real cinnamon flavor. And you don't want it too overpowering because you want that bourbon flavor to come out. And sparkling water for topping. I've made this last year. I will be making it this year. I absolutely hope you like it. It is absolutely a winner. Give it a shot. And you can look at how to upsize those to make freezer door cocktails, to make it larger so you have one ready to go all the time. Beautiful idea. You'll just have to withhold the sparkling water. It won't freeze well, obviously. Folks, that's it for me here on the Edge of Liberty. Happy Friday. Have a good weekend. If you can donate to anyone who needs the help down in the Helene-stricken areas or the organizations that are doing great work down there, do it. I'll be back Monday, 12 Pacific, 3 Eastern, right here on the SHR Media Network.
Conservative media done right. You're listening to the SHR Media Network. Conservative media done right. You're listening to the SHR Media Network.
Hey, it's Sean from the Edge of Liberty. Join me right here on the SHR Media Network every Monday and Friday, 12 on the Pacific, 3 on the East Coast. On this show, we'll discuss news, politics, the government, how cranky we are about the government, and more. If you want to hear hard talk, good interviews, sarcasm, bad jokes, and oh God, that really is me in a nutshell. Either way, check me out right here on the Edge of Liberty every Monday and Friday, 12 Pacific, 3 on the East, on the SHR Media Network.